This is Dentistry Disrupted with Dr. Craig D. Clayton. I'm a wellness and biomimetic dentist, passionate change maker, social media thought leader, and educator on disrupting the way we approach oral health care. Come along with me as we journey towards a healthier and more empowered you. Welcome back to Dentistry Disrupted. I am Dr. Clayton, and today we're diving into something that every parent should know: the 5 biggest red flags in babies and kids that might be signs of airway issues. These are things you might have noticed and brushed off, or maybe a provider told you not to worry about it. But I'm here to tell you why you absolutely shouldn't ignore them. And please stick around to the end, and I'll tell you how to get access to my live airway class, where we deep dive into how to support your child's breathing development and sleep from a functional root cause lens. All right, let's get into it. Red flag number 1, mouth breathing. This is probably the most obvious red flag warning that there is an issue with the airway in your child. If your child is mouth breathing only 30% in a 24-hour period, that is considered severe. So we really only should be breathing through our mouth when we are speaking, but even then, not so much. So anything over 30%, severe, but it really should be under 5%. And why is this happening? Well, it's a couple different reasons. It could be enlarged tonsils, chronic congestion, allergies, or just simply structural issues like a high palate, tongue tie. It could also be habitual. Maybe your child just has a habit of keeping their mouth open and breathing through their mouth, which causes lots of other issues. And a traditional provider might say it's not a big deal. It's totally fine. They're breathing through their mouth. They can still breathe. It's all good. Or it's just allergies, or my favorite, they'll grow out of it. Why you shouldn't ignore this? Well, mouth breathing during sleep bypasses the nose's filtration system, dries out the mouth, disrupts sleep quality, and can lead to facial development issues, behavioral challenges, and even cavities. So this is something you really shouldn't ignore, and it just exacerbates all the issues. And I am just like you. I have 2 boys that are both breathing through their mouth too much, and this is something we've been working hard on to correct. And it's taken a lot of work and time, and we're making progress, but it is really, really difficult. Every day, all day long, we're reminding them, tongue up, lips closed, healthy breathing through the nose, as Dr. Zaghi likes to say. And so it is a challenging issue to overcome. I totally understand that. Now, red flag number 2 is snoring or noisy breathing at night, or even noisy breathing during the day. So why is this happening? Well, there's some sort of blockage, partial blockage in the airway that is causing that noise because air is being forced through a small space. This can be from large adenoids, tonsils, underdeveloped airway structures, poor posture, lots of different reasons that can cause it. But breathing should be through the nose, and it should be without noise and very gentle breathing. So anything that is noisy, and especially snoring is a big, big problem, is not normal. You may be told, like, oh, snoring is normal in kids sometimes, or can be normal, or isn't a problem, or maybe they're just congested. Snoring is not normal, and I hope no one will ever tell you that it is, or that it's even acceptable. It's very, very scary. And you may even be told, well, it's not as much of an issue as long as they're sleeping well and they're not having sleep apnea events, which means that you stop breathing for periods throughout the night. Really, really bad. Okay, so why shouldn't you ignore it? Well, snoring or noisy breathing can be a sign of sleep disordered breathing and may be linked to low oxygen levels during sleep, which can affect brain development and behavior. So very, very bad. We definitely need to look at this symptom and consider it to be a pretty significant smoke preceding a fire that will occur later in life. And this can be a tricky one. Some parents will say, oh no, my child's a silent sleeper, everything's good. I recommend taking a video of your child sleeping to be able to really evaluate, turn off the sound machine, Are they breathing through their nose? Are they breathing through their mouth? Is it noisy? Is it silent? It's important to do this. You may even have to go in a couple times a night to have a couple different samples here. Okay, red flag number 3. If you have an infant or when your child was an infant, did you have trouble nursing, clicking while feeding, painful nursing, reflux, all sorts of things. So why is this happening? Well, so many symptoms that accompany trouble nursing, like clicking while feeding, poor seal, the baby swallowing too much air, gas, colic behavior, struggle to latch, or fatiguing quickly during feeds, not being able to drain the breast to get to the hind milk. These are all signs that there's something going on. And often these are signs of oral restrictions like a tongue tie, lip tie. It can be poor oral motor function, lots of different issues. And you may be told, oh, just give it time. It will correct itself, or your baby's gaining weight, so you're fine, or you're just not going to be able to nurse. Just bottle feed, formula, that's fine. Well, you shouldn't ignore these because feeding difficulties are one of the earliest signs of potential airway dysfunction down the road. If the tongue can't function properly, it may not support proper palate formation. And if the tongue isn't resting where it needs to, it can impact breathing, make it difficult to breathe through the nose, and lead to poor sleep. So even if your child is not sleeping poorly at the beginning, this can certainly develop into a problem down the road. And my wife really struggled with nursing issues with our first son. He had a tough time latching. He swallowed a lot of air when he was feeding, a lot of reflux. He was a poor sleeper. So these were all red flags, and eventually my wife was able to overcome this after months of seeing different lactation specialists and an oral-facial myofunctional therapist, and they were able to make progress, but these were early signs that there were issues. And our second child did not suffer from this, but a couple of years down the road, he started exhibiting signs of sleep disordered breathing. So it's a case by case. You need to consider all these red flags in your children from the day they are born. Now, red flag number 4. This could be picky eating, gagging easily, or food texture aversion in kids. So why is this happening? Well, it could be due to retained oral reflexes from nursing, so they haven't learned how to properly handle and swallow food. Low muscle tone, a history of feeding struggles as a baby, or undiagnosed oral ties that impact chewing and swallowing. And it sure doesn't help that the current approach to weaning is switching to very soft foods, mushes, porridges, things like that, and then slowly working up to solid food. That is not great. And you may be told, again, they'll grow out of it. They're just sensitive. It's normal to be picky, or your child's just being stubborn. But these are things you shouldn't ignore. There is help that you can get. And these are also red flags that there is poor oral motor development and potentially airway instability in these kids, especially kids who avoid foods that require a lot of effort to chew or avoid a lot of different textures. Often have weak tongue muscles and chewing muscles, and may also struggle with speech or sleep because these muscles that are used for chewing and oral motor function are also the same muscles that support the airway when we breathe day and night. So if you have a hard time chewing and these muscles have weak tone, then they're also going to have a hard time keeping the airway open during the day and especially at night. Okay, red flag number 5. Chronic congestion or frequent sickness. So why is it happening? Well, the nasal immune system is really, really important. We breathe through our nose, and the air goes past mucus, through sinuses, through different bones that filter the air, past the adenoids, past the tonsils, before it gets to the lungs. But if your child is constantly breathing through their mouth, it's bypassing that whole immune system. The air is going straight to the tonsils. It's going to cause inflammation, and that chronic inflammation can then lead to chronic congestion and more frequent sickness, but also diet and the microbiome in the nose, in the mouth, in the lungs, throat. Those can all impact congestion as well. And of course, allergies, food sensitivities. And you may be told, oh, it's just another virus. They're in school. They get sick more frequently. Or, oh, their tonsils aren't that big, they're not getting sick enough, we'll just give them another antibiotic, which happened to my wife. She was told all these things. Oh, she doesn't get sick enough, her tonsils aren't that big, she'll grow out of it, she'll grow into her tonsils. But you shouldn't ignore this. It's not acceptable for your kid to get sick all the time, for them to have huge tonsils, for them to be breathing through their mouth all day long, and it's not normal to have to be prescribed antibiotics every time they get sick. This is totally ruining the gut and the immune system in general and not treating the actual cause. You shouldn't ignore this, because that chronic congestion can lead to underdeveloped sinuses, long-term immune issues, underdeveloped face, upper and lower jaw, all sorts of things that just exacerbate the issue down the road. Number one, mouth breathing. Your child and yourself should never be breathing through your mouth except for when you are speaking. But even then, the air is used to make sounds, not for breathing. So your child and yourself should be breathing through your nose. Red flag number 2, snoring or noisy breathing at night. Breathing should always be gentle through the nose without any sound. So if your child is snoring or you can hear them breathing audibly even through their nose, there is an issue. Red flag number 3, if you have an infant or your child now had trouble nursing, had all sorts of symptoms when feeding, like poor seals, swallowing air, gas, struggle to latch, fatiguing quickly, trouble sleeping, all these issues are signs that they could have an airway dysfunction later in life, because there are or were oral motor function disorders. Red flag number 4, picky eating, gagging easily, avoiding certain foods. These are all signs as well that there's something going on with their oral motor function. So those chewing, speaking, swallowing muscles, those 26 muscles that are so important for eating and daily function, are also the muscles that maintain the airway. So if they're having trouble eating, then they likely are going to have trouble breathing and maintaining that airway open. Red flag number 5, chronic congestion or always sick. These are not normal for anybody. So if your child is chronically congested or they get sick frequently, they have big tonsils, these are signs that you need to be paying attention to, and let's figure out what that root cause of the illness and chronic congestion is, because it's only going to make things worse over time. So if you have recognized even one of these red flags in your child, or maybe you're pregnant and want to be proactive, please don't ignore these red flags. The earlier we support healthy airway function, the better the outcomes for sleep, learning, development, and even confidence in your child. That's why I created my live airway class, to help you understand the signs, learn what really matters, and take action with a collaborative root cause approach to care. The doors close on June 15th and the class is on June 16th. But yes, it's recorded even if you can't come live. You'll walk away feeling empowered with the knowledge to advocate for your child and take real steps toward better health. Head to the link in the show notes or over to my Instagram bio and sign up now before the doors close. Please don't miss out on this class. This is my favorite thing to do, is teach these classes. I love it, and it's going to be a great time, and we'll do an FAQ section a week later. It's going to be awesome. So don't miss out. Look forward to seeing you there. And thanks for joining me today on this episode of Dentistry Disrupted.